You know, to start a fire with flint and steel, you ultimately have to have a pre-made kit, some form of steel in a form of a steel striker, some char cloth, and something to transfer that char cloth into, like a tinder bundle. Flint and steel kit is something that I like to carry when it's winter, when it's not fully, you know, raining out. It's still cold, but it speeds the process up as far as getting a fire. It's cold, you know, a little bit of exposure, especially to the fingertips. You could start getting some frostbite. In my flint and steel kit, I have just regular chert. This doesn't necessarily have to be flint. Any sort of hard stone. Even some of these random pieces of rock out here can throw a spark. The harder the stone, the better the spark. This right here is chert, and it definitely throws a spark. Now in my flint and steel kit, I carry a small little kind of cheesecloth pouch with various bits of char cloth in there. And char cloth is essentially a material when placed in a tin can or surrounded by a tight knit of rocks is going to char. It's not going to burn, and it's going to allow a spark to catch onto the charred material and ultimately transfer that into a tinder bundle and get a fire rocking and rolling. I always like to start with a pretty decent size. Why not? You know, if you're cold and you need to get a fire going, that's the way to do it. To get a spark off of this chert, all I'm going to do is lay my char cloth right on the top. I don't want to put it on the bottom. I can't see if I get a spark. More importantly, when I come down with my striker, the sparks are flying up. They'll fly left, right, but they're not going to be coming below that piece of char cloth. When you place your cloth, you want to put it right on the edge of your actual chert or your hard stone material, whether it's flint, chert, some piece of quartz. And I'm looking for a straight edge in that chert to make contact with my striker. Once it catches, you can just start to see it glow. And it's going to carry on. A little bit of breath will give it a little bit more life. Once that's done, quickly retain your striker. What I like to do with the piece of char cloth is I like to fold it. I like to give it a little bit more char cloth to grab onto as far as that little bit of an ember that's slowly growing. I place it in my tinder bundle, and I'm going to put it right down in the middle. And I'm going to slowly taco this guy together. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start blowing. There it is. Good little fire. Drop this in the fire pit. Once I got a few little flames going, I always like to kind of let that fire feed, give it a little bit of air. Drop that guy right up on top. Taking small twigs. These are all the tips of pine trees, so they got a little bit of resin in them. Should be good to go. Good thing to remember is you really don't have a fire until you get fuel wood burning. Something that's bigger than twigs, it's thicker, it's going to burn longer than a minute or two. Once you have the fuel wood burning, in my book, that's a fire. Now that I've got my fire going and I'm warming up, I've got a little bit better, digit control. A couple other things when it comes to starting a fire with flint and steel is once you've got your spark on there, you can see just with that one strike, this guy right here is already lit up. I don't have to use the entire piece of char cloth. I can always just tear off a piece that I want that's lit and then snuff that out and still have a piece that I can roll up, drop into a tinder bundle. It's easier with a bigger piece to catch, but maybe I want to save it. Maybe I know I'm going to be out here for a couple days, or the tinder material is relatively wet and I'm going to need a couple strikes and a couple tries. You can try to increase your chances by using a bigger piece, or you can increase the number of strikes and catches and attempts to blow it into flame just by breaking off a piece of char cloth. Now the motion I'm looking to do when striking is I'm not taking my striker and hitting the stone on top of it. I'm taking this flat edge and just striking it along its side. Any piece of this stone that has a sharp side will give me the spark that I'm looking for. And just gently touching the edge. And just by that one strike, this guy caught. Just one little piece of that steel flew off, caught in that char cloth, and lit it up. Now you can give it a little bit of breath. Be mindful of the moisture in your breath. It's very unlikely that it's going to put it out, but it could. So when it comes down to it, flint and steel is not hard. It is different than a ferro rod. A lot of people will see someone using a ferro rod and they'll attribute that to flint and steel. That's not the case. Ferro rod is a man-made rod made of ferrocerium. With the striker, it's removing chunks of ferrocerium. Those sparks essentially through that motion ignite, and that allows you to start that fire. Flint and steel is two different items. One piece of steel as well as one hard stone, typically flint, chert, quartz, something like that. Two different fire starting mechanisms. I like carrying flint and steel with me when it is winter time. It's a lot easier to get a fire going when you're, when your digits are frozen and you need to get something to kind of quickly get reheated. Flint and steel is a great fire making resource as long as you have some means of catching that spark in the form of char cloth, some sort of fungus, and sometimes even some dried material. Whatever the case may be, you need to have a means of catching that spark. If you've got that, you've definitely got a fire. All right, that's Flint and Steel Down and Dirty. Thanks for watching.